John Rentoul is here, though. John, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Now,
am I on the list of 50 undesirables?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to have made the list, actually. People seem to think it's a bit of a badge of honour.
But I'm very upset if I'm not on it.
Yeah, are you not on it?
Where is this list?
Oh, it's the New Europeans list, so you probably won't be on it because they probably quite like you. I mean, I'm in the company of people like Jacob Rees-Mogg and Hugh Edwards, which is not great, to be fair. But about 50 people that Britain could do without. And they're all in your sort of camp, aren't they? It's Matt Kelly's newspaper.
Yeah, that's not my camp. I'm a Blairite Eurosceptic, Mike, as you know.
Well, Alistair Campbell's very much associated with it. In fact, if you subscribe to the New European, you get a free copy of Alistair Campbell's book. So he must not be selling very well.
Well, he does run a very successful podcast.
He does indeed. God knows why. I'm amazed that people believe a word he says, but that's another story. So far, so good this week for Keir Starmer, isn't he? He hasn't made any massive blunders. He hasn't tripped himself up. He hasn't done anything particularly bad, although I'm slightly confused about his food taste, because there's been about 3 different interviews he's given, one in which he says he's a pescatarian, another one in which he says that his favourite food is a pasta ham bake. And another one...
No, that was a mishearing. There's a handmade sauce.
Handmade? What?
Handmade sauce for pasta.
Okay.
There's been a huge hair running about this. No, he's a pescatarian, and he seems to be reasonably consistent about it.
Right. Well, he says he does make... I mean, he went on another show to say that he made a tandoori salmon, which is OK if you're a pescatarian. But he's also said in the past that he's a vegetarian.
Well, vegetarian, pescatarian, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to argue. And there is a story in Tom Baldwin's book, I think, about him eating a sausage roll or something on a train when he was very hungry.
I remember that. Yeah. Did he not also eat a curry up in the northeast, which was the subject of some derision?
Might have been a vegetable curry, though.
It might well have been, but I'm just asking. You know, just asking. Because, I mean, the trouble is, once you get to the point where nobody's quite sure what you say and when you say it, and you keep changing your mind about things, people go, "Hang on a minute, we have to check everything out, even what his favourite pasta bake is."
Yeah, I'm not sure he has had that good a week, actually, Mike. I mean, this news of job losses in Luton because of the ludicrous electric vehicle mandate policy, which, to be fair to Labour, they inherited from the Tories.
Yeah,
I mean, I did try to warn. I tried to warn the Tories when. Rishi Sunak did try to move in the right direction, but they didn't move anything like far enough, it seems.
No.
And now the chickens are coming home to roost.
Well, that's the problem, and the 1,100 jobs will be just the beginning, because people were pointing out to me today that anything around a factory like the one in Luton, which is not now going to be producing these electric vans, will have all sorts of sort of ancillary connections to various different businesses, to different jobs that people do around the factory. So the numbers of people out of work will probably be bigger than that number, won't it?
Well, I mean, and the idea that Ed Miliband keeps on pumping out that somehow, the green transition is going to create jobs and increase growth, I'm afraid is just completely wrong-headed and mistaken. I mean...
Well, this is the thing. If you only subsidise something, and that's the only reason that it becomes a success, then as soon as that subsidy disappears, and I mean, I know people who've got electric cars, and many of them ring in on a regular basis, and they say, look, we're not particularly green-minded. We got the electric car because you didn't pay road tax, you didn't pay congestion charge, you didn't have to pay an awful lot of the taxes that you would pay on a regular car, and also my company got it for me. But all of that disappears, and suddenly nobody's going to want them anymore.
Well, except the electricity is much cheaper than the petrol.
Well, yeah, but still, it's becoming more expensive, though, you know, and it depends on the kind of car you've got, and it depends on where you charge it, you know, because sometimes people have said to me that the apps don't work terribly well. Sometimes you have to pay more money for the electricity than you would otherwise. And you know, I've always said this. Look, if you want to make an electric car that's as good as a petrol car, as economical as a petrol car, and gets you to where you want to go, like a petrol car, then people will buy them. But that's not the case. And that
is possible. And it may require subsidy in order to get it to a critical mass. But
then it's not viable, though, is it? Because we shouldn't be having to subsidise electric car manufacturers in order to sell the cars. Either the cars are worth buying or they're not.
No, well, I mean, but look at what's happening in China, Mike. I mean, you know, they've got far further on electric cars.
Yes. Well, I predicted this. I mean, I wrote a piece not long ago, earlier this year, about how electric car manufacturing in Europe and also regular manufacturing would be killed off by the Chinese cheaper versions of electric cars because they flooded the market, which is what Donald Trump's trying to stop them from doing in America. Yeah,
but I mean, I don't think that the Chinese are doing it just for the sort of sentimental green reasons. I mean, I think it is possible to have economic electric cars, and that, I mean, what's really tragic is that that's the easy bit. I mean, you know, having electric vehicles should be perfectly possible, viable, and economic.
Well, it's all right if you're in China, where you can.
Extremely difficult,
yeah, but I mean, the point is the Chinese don't have to pay their workers very much money, and that's why it's economical.
Well, no, but they're still switching from petrol and diesel. So,
well, yeah, but a lot of the people
must be something.
Well, yeah, but a lot of the people that drive cars in China are the well-off people. I mean, there's a lot of people in China that couldn't afford any kind of car, never mind an electric car. But the point is they've managed to find a model which they can make very cheaply and export into Europe, and that's the key to it, isn't it?
Well, absolutely, and that also belies what Ed Miliband suggests, which is transferring to green technology is automatically going to create jobs and prosperity in the West. I mean, you know, if China gets there first, which it seems to have done, all it's going to do is mean that we import green cars from China.
Yes, exactly right, and we no longer make any, and that's exactly where we're going. Because
we were going that way anyway, but you know, there had been some success stories, Nissan and so on, pushing back against that.
Yeah.
But so far, it seems that the government is just pursuing these green targets without any thought or care for the future.
Right. And they've also signed up COP29, which I thought had finished a week earlier. It turns out it didn't finish until this weekend. They've signed up to this ludicrous, $300 billion fund, which we're going to be contributing to save the planet for countries that are supposedly less developed than ours.
Well, quite. And, when I heard Claire Coutinho, the Ed Miliband's shadow, asking him all sorts of questions in the House of Commons yesterday about how much we were actually on the hook for.
Yeah.
Answers came there none.
Right. Well, because it's all pie in the sky, isn't it, for you'll pardon the pun? Because at the end of the day, nobody really knows the answer to that question, because we all sign up for these things on these ridiculous jaunts to, I still can't imagine why they needed to take 470 people. I think we talked about this before. You know, it's just kind of a madness. It's almost like the emperor's new clothes. Nobody wants to really admit to the fact that, we've spent an awful lot of time talking about this particular thing. We've made some kind of agreement that everybody's signed, but nobody really knows what it means.
No, and I think the crunch is going to come in the next few years as it starts to have an effect on people's bottom lines.
Yeah.
I mean, it already does. I mean, there are already green levies on energy bills, but those are going to go up, and I don't think Morgan McSweeney, who is Keir Starmer's chief of staff and who is ruthlessly focused on winning the next election, I don't think he's going to put up with that kind of nonsense.
No. You say he's ruthlessly focused on winning the next election, but I'm afraid his servants, the slaves who actually do the political stuff, are not doing what he wants then, because they're not making themselves terribly popular, are they?
No, they're having a very rough time of it. It has to be said.
I hear he's keen on having away days with them. Have you ever been able to witness one of these away days?
No, they're confidential events. The last away day apparently happened 200 yards away in the Foreign Office.
Not very far away.
Across the road from Downing Street.
Right.
So, not exactly sort of, country retreat.
No, quite.
Casual clothes.
I mean, Keir Starmer also hasn't been around very much. Has he now taken the view that he's going to try and be in Britain for longer than he has been so far?
Well, it's interesting. The last couple of times he's been on a plane, he's been very embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
And has tried to insist that the only reason he's forced to go on these ghastly foreign trips is to deliver for the folks back home.
Yeah. But nobody believes that either. Because what was the point of him going? What was the point of him going to COP29 when the agreement was made a week after he left, and all that happened while he was there was that he didn't meet any leaders from any other country because no other leaders went.
Well, because lots who didn't go. But this is all about this slightly mythical idea of British leadership. By going, he's supposed to have presented Britain as a leading country on the green agenda. But as Claire Coutinho pointed out yesterday, other countries are not going to follow Britain just because we go further, further and faster and spend more and make ourselves poorer on green stuff.
And certainly
they're
Americans...
only going to be persuaded by our leadership if we can show that it makes us more prosperous.
But exactly. But that's
so
exactly
far,
my
no evidence
point.
of that.
Which takes me back to China, and which takes me back to the electric car in general. Once they make them principally effective, and once they make them affordable, and once they make them profitable, then fine, everybody will go, great, let's go and get an electric car. But until they do that, nobody's going to bother. Meanwhile, I'm seeing news here that Labour ministers have issued a statement saying they will continue to travel by helicopter despite previously branding the Tories out of touch for doing so.
Again, I mean, I told them, I warned them, the attacking Rishi Sunak for private jets, helicopter rides was a mistake. I mean, it was worse than a mistake. It was just hypocritical, because they know that in government you have to get around. I mean, I remember Gordon Brown coming in after Tony Blair and saying he didn't want police outriders on the prime ministerial car because he wasn't a president. He was a democratically man of the people and all the rest of it. He got stuck in a traffic jam on day 2 and was an hour and a half late for a photo call in South London. And the police outriders were miraculously back. Exactly the same thing is happening with Keir Starmer.
And you sort of, every time you turn around, somebody finds a tweet that he put out some years ago complaining about the very thing that he's now being accused of, Which, of course, is also bad news. And you would have probably also, if you'd been asked, told Rachel Reeves not to say, we won't be bringing any more new taxes in, because that's been denied already by Jonathan Reynolds the day afterwards.
No. I heard what she said. I heard what she said. She said, we won't be doing a budget like that again. We won't be bringing in new taxes on that scale.
Yes. She won't be, we won't be bringing in new taxes in this Parliament.
Well, no, on that scale. So she wasn't ruling out new taxes at all.
Right. Well, she shouldn't have said it, no matter what, because Jonathan Reynolds has now said the complete opposite. Said that basically,
he hasn't.
He thinks that future rises will not be comparable to the £25 billion rate. However, she said she was not going to come back for more. That was the quote.
Yes. Okay, that was loosely worded, but I mean, what she said in the next sentence was that she wouldn't be doing another budget like that one.
Yes.
What she meant was, I won't be coming back for more on that scale. I'll be coming back. I'll be nibbling at new taxes over the next few years.
Yes. I mean, it is a terrible, terrible start to government. We've agreed on that. I mean, they've got a month to run up to Christmas. Is he going anywhere else between now and Christmas? Do you know?
I haven't checked. No, I think we're being told that he's going to travel much less now that he's got all the initial journeys out of the way. We'll see about that.
And here's an interesting question from Tony. I don't know if you know the answer to this. I can say that I've seen an awful lot of Range Rovers parked behind Downing Street whenever I've gone round the back of it, where they park round by the Treasury there. Tony says this: do you know whether Ministerial and Prime Minister's cars are electric vehicles? Well, if they were, they would be very expensive, because I've seen how much an electric Range Rover costs. It's about 135 grand.
I can't say I've looked closely, but they look like normal Range Rovers to me.
I think they are. But I've counted. I remember counting, and this was actually the days when the Tories were in there, but it doesn't look any less when I was going around back there the other day. There's about 25 Range Rovers parked there at any given time. So, I mean, it's quite an expensive operation.
Yeah, no, well, on late night votes in the House of Commons, you see all the ministerial cars outside ready to pick up the ministers.
Yeah, they could have Priuses.
They're mostly not electric vehicles, as far as I can make out. Although there is a charging point, in the place where they park.
But can you imagine if you had to charge up 15 or 20 ministerial Priuses they'd be sitting there all night. They'd miss the vote.
Yeah, no, quite. I mean, I think I remember. I remember the Tories saying they weren't going to switch to electric vehicles because it would cost more.
Yeah, I mean, that is the problem.
Yeah.
Amazing. John, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. John Rentoul, Chief Political Commentator for The Independent.